Thank you, guys. Is it on? Yes. We do
Hello.
have a panel title, and we'll get to it in a second. Thank you. Nice. I'm Marco. I'm head of AI at Oasis, and we have a very cool panel here. I'd start with a quick intro round, and then we go to the panel.
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Chris from MCScore Finance. We list DeFi yield as ETFs on the stock exchange, and I'm one of the co-founders.
Hey, hello. Can you hear? Yeah, okay. So I'm Kamesh, core contributor of OpenLedger. Yeah, OpenLedger is a AI-specific blockchain specifically designed to, organize and manage data and build model and agents. So we work on a concept called proof of attribution for data contributors and to track the data provenance so that, the creators get paid. So that's the whole concept of OpenLedger.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Wright. I'm with Gaia. We're building decentralized AI inference. We enable anyone to take open source large language models, take your own data, vectorize it, and serve it as AI services. We're helping people build living knowledge systems on the internet and want people to, essentially build more sovereign AI infrastructure.
Cool. Our panel today is about encrypted trusts and specifically how on-chain privacy can help to govern and verify AI. Based on this, where are we currently missing trust in this whole AI thing?
So from our perspective, the biggest thing, since we're working in AI inference, and inference for anyone that's new, is really just the process of taking natural language data, numbers, and turn it into embeddings or readable, ones and zeros binary for machine learning to pick up and use. That whole process is inference, and we enable people to use this for applications, for agents. But right now, if you're using like a ChatGPT or anything from Anthropic, Claude, Grok, they're providing inference to you for your apps, for your agents, and they already have trust established. We trust the Googles, we trust again the Anthropics. They're hosting their APIs and serving them to us. They have that verifiable trust. Just by being that institution and having us do KYC to properly get an API key, et cetera. If we're building a decentralized network or internet of this inference that any individual on the internet can serve and anyone can become an AI company, how do you know that that is trusted? How do you know that that is properly serving the right ML outputs? And so there's a few approaches. We're doing more of a statistical proving or validation of our inference through Gaia nodes, through eigenlayer AVS. There's a lot of people doing ZKML, like zero knowledge proofs to validate inference, and some folks are doing optimistic. There's a lot of other methods, but we're really focused on validating inference.
So generally, in my opinion, AI models are not trustable, right? Even though it is a Google or ChatGPT or anything. The fundamental problem with the AI model, once you fine-tune the data to the model, and then it became black box. So you can't figure out which data is really influencing the model. Because I closely work with a lot of enterprises. I came from a background which used to work with Walmart and Sony, LA Times, and many such brands before. So when we trying to implement models to them, the biggest challenge for them is to because what if this model will hallucinate and create some kind of challenges in the business, because everyone love AI model which can solve a lot of time and effort. For example, big LA Times kind of companies, they manually check a lot of things in the content. I think AI model can really solve a lot of problem, but still they worried. Why? Because there is no any auditability of the model. You can't audit the model. There is no, because in the early days of SQL and everything, there is a log file. You can see in the log what happened, right? So in this case of model, there is no any concept of log file where you can see which data is really influencing the model. So the fundamental problem in Web 2 as well as in the Web 3, where the model is always a black box. So we can't really build a serious business by depending on the model as of now. For example, healthcare and those kind of factors. For example, let's say imagine if you have a healthcare model, and then if you ask a particular query, it can answer you and then in what basis is answered this query, right? Which is very important. So it should be auditable. So that is the problem that every Web2 companies are trying to solve right now. So we believe on thesis that that particular problem of model transparency and explainability that can be achieved and tracked through blockchain. Blockchain is all about provenance, right? So that is a unique. We are not competing with any big models because which is practically I feel like it's not possible. They're able to raise couple of billion and 5 billion, 6 billion. So I think the Web3 companies can't even fight with the Web2 companies, but we can coexist and then we can support them in terms of provenance and trackability. So we've done a complete research about how to make the model more explainable, more transparent, so that data contributor, or we can figure out the usage of the data, then we can reward the contributors of the data. So that is what we try to do with the OpenLedger.
Yeah, for me, like seeing it from the user side, now we are in the pink glasses phase where everybody looks and says, "Oh, AIs are amazing." Reminds me a lot how the beginning of DeFi was, where like insane growth, you just saw a new protocol, no audits at all, anonymous founders, yes, let's use it, let's throw something, let's see what they actually built. Until somebody figured out that's the perfect scenario for rug pulls. And then you had like this phase where all these rug pulls came for the protocols. And I wonder when we will see the first rug pulls in AI. That somebody does a clever prompt injection because things are not verified, people use MCP servers like crazy and models, and there's somebody figures a way to route your search, your information in a way to actually exploit it on scale. Because nobody verifies anything in AI yet. Because there is not the case that somebody really exploited it for something to make news. And like I think a lot of things that also the people in the whole day here are doing is preparing for the day, because it will come inevitable.
Interesting, especially Matt. I think very few people here actually do trust Google. That's why everyone is building on this new system, because they've already abused our trust. Like they have collected all of this data about us, manipulated us with it in the past through algorithms, and now we're kind of back to trusting them with our data again, but now it's through LLM prompts. So how does actually crypto play into this? How do we help have a fair AI, govern AI? I don't know which parts we want to govern, and how does privacy help?
Yeah, so high level, I think how the whole ecosystem's kind of been mapped out. Again, there's a lot of folks looking at proof of inference. There's people looking at proof of compute, or at least how do you prove that compute was provided to the AI, either application or instance. There's the validation of like agents and perhaps their identities and perhaps what reputation they have on chain or on the internet. There's other ways that folks are doing that on the model level, which I agree it's very I'm biased. It's tough to do. And so I think there's just a lot of approaches. If you unbundle like a GPT or any of these products we use on a daily basis, and you look at all the components that make up this monolithic structure, in Web3 we can actually use the coordination of resources that we've always done, use a lot of primitives that we've always had, and essentially enable an open market of people to provide these services. But if that's the case, then we need to make sure that they're actually doing the right things and that they're actually allowed to do those things.
Sorry, I lost the question again. Can you ask once again?
There is this trust problem. Like, I mean, we had some different opinions here. We already have these problems that AI is actually insecure, especially LLMs. There are many ways: prompt injection, data injection, jailbreaks. So how do we actually help this as a crypto industry? What are people working on, and what is realistic with encryption, privacy?
Okay, so generally, like I believe that we all use Google and like all the Web2 platforms so far. We always share data. We never worry about sharing data, right? So, but as long as if we're getting paid, we are okay. So that is what we understood, because like Instagram or YouTube or any platform so far, they utilize your data. At least they don't give a clear transparency on how much they make and how much they share you. They're given some application data to us, but we believe that. But we are still okay as long as we are able to get something paid. But the fundamental with the AI challenges, like let's say if you are a good blogger, you wrote about 10 interesting restaurants in Cairns, And then if you search ChatGPT, the blogger content will be consumed by ChatGPT and giving us a information to the end user. The end user really, we are cutting down the traffic of the website, right? Because the end user will not have a motivation to write more content, because fundamentally that's a problem, right? So because if these guys are not giving a traffic end of the day to the website, if you get the traffic, then you will get more traffic and you're able to make some revenue. Google is bit, I would say Google search engine, we are all accepted because it helps some discovery for our business, because people made a lot of money. If you are in Google, you can make revenue because they give revenue to the people. That's why we widely accepted. No one were worried about, hey, you are catching my data and then utilizing it. As long as we are getting a traffic and business, we are fine. But this case of AI, they indirectly scraping the data and stealing the data, but they never share anything, right? I think the last year ChatGPT revenues around close to 3 billion. I think maybe some percentage of it goes back to the data contributor, and then we are okay. So I think that is what I feel. But unfortunately, there is no companies who are taking initiative of because the ChatGPT is all about knowledge on content, right, and data. Right? If you are not giving anything to the data, it is not it is from the internet, right? So because if the data is not in the internet, it can't answer. Some way it consumes the knowledge of the internet, but they take their thesis it's a public information, so I'm using it and giving to the people. Why do we have to pay for it, right? I agree, but it is a public information. If it is a free service like Wikipedia, then we are fine, right? So if you are not charging for that, then we are okay. But you charge for that, you make revenue for it, then of course it is something you should pay us back. So that is the whole fundamental. We can't blame Web2 companies also. Why? Because the technology level, it's a problem, because model by default so far is black box. Even if they want to pay, they can't figure out which data this blog actually, it could have read hundreds of blog, out of which one blog can give 20% of influence and other blog can give 10% of influence, which they can't right now able to track. So even every companies are trying to work on that in terms of figuring out the usage of the data. I think then naturally that this process will evolve. I think where there is a scope of Web3 companies can play. I don't take ideas of competing with ChatGPT or building Onchain model on those kind of things, which is completely out of the box. We can't even think about that. I think this technology fundamentally have a trust and trackability. I think that can be really utilized as a protocol to many Web2 companies. We've been talking to a lot of Web2 companies on model explainability. People are super excited about using. If they're able to get an auditable response, then they are super happy about that so far. Yeah.
If you break it down, there are 3 things that make an AI result really good. The first one is the LLM, 30%. The second one is the context you give it, what is the information, the surrounding, what is the date, what is your location, etc. when you do things. Another 30%. And the last one is how you ask it. What is the prompt that you're using? What is the action that you're using? How it to use its LLM in the most interesting way. And currently, all 3 things are assigned pretty random in 99% of the AI searches, what people are doing. The AI will do most of the simple work for you in the future, like searching on Amazon. You will not spend half an hour, searching for the right tree for your cat or whatever. You will let the AI do it for you. And with Amazon, it's not a problem because you don't care if it's product A or B. It probably will be fine. It has good ratings. But if you're a company and you do the same search on Alibaba for getting the right chip components for your product, and you then use AI components, you want to know what is actually your machine currently doing, what are the components, what are they working with. You have a very, very different set of requirements to make sure that this is correct, which is verified, that it is not tampered with, that you actually use the correct information to access it, so there's maybe not another nation putting in an AI chip which then maybe has some spying data on it. And you want to make sure that the prompts are actually correctly in what you want to use inside of your company. And all these free things need to be verified. And if it's like decentralized, you do it through a list of suppliers, you do it through a list of sub-companies, then the most efficient way to solve that is in a decentralized manner.
But let's be a bit more practical, like based on the kind of problems that you guys have described, data provenance, compute verifiability, how can encryption help in actually solving these, if it can?
Like, I think one of the most interesting things is there are different ways of privacy. Like there is on the website, it's written, it's a secure login, then it's written, we don't store your data, it's written, we don't share our data with the AI, but this is basically only the lowest levels. If we go then, like, I think if I truly give my personality into an AI that then understands everything I am, I don't want it that somebody else can just use it, or that a company then maybe sells my personality and says, oh yeah, hey, I have the Chris AI, do you want to use it? And I don't even have any control of it. I don't want to give that away. And so
like, how do we get there?
Like I think the highest level is if I can trust a company with my information, because it's guaranteed through the blockchain that it uses behind that it cannot tamper with my knowledge. Like that I have data as a vector store or as a data store on a blockchain, which the LLM, which also is in a TE environment, can then use and can access. So I can use advanced knowledge about my personal information where I'm guaranteed that nobody else gets the information.
In my thought, like when we practically work with, I met a lot of people in Scale AI, and like a lot of my friends works in Meta. So when I were talking to them, model does not need your IP or any sensitive data, right? So what we do technically, because if you ask ChatGPT, it won't give anyone's personal information to you, right? We all care about that. I agree. They are not stupid enough to just take all the personal information and fine-tune this model, right? Right. So the fundamentally that's a concept called synthetic data, where you take IP or like all the sensitive data part and then de-anonymize the data before fine-tuning. So that is what most of the AI companies used to follow. But let's say if I work with one of the biggest e-commerce company which has lot of sensitive informations on the transactions and everything, before we fine-tune, so in the local machine itself we de-anonymize the entire data and then make sure this data, next one more model will check this particular data have any kind of sensitivity, then making sure everything is clear, then we use the data to fine tune the model. So I don't see any challenges in taking the IP of any particular individuals, and so no one want to do that, right? Because if I want to create I want to just create an invoice copy for a Japanese kit store, right? If you ask this query, so that they give a generic template, some knowledge alone, right? They don't give the actual invoice of what you bought, right? So the de-anonymizing is something people do. Generally, model does not want your personal information. They want the persona. Let's say you may be a type of person, super cool, and one guy will be super moody, right? We never know, right? It needs various type of persona of data. So generally if you ask ChatGPT about the jokes, right, we give some joke, but for a different country people, you don't even feel that like a joke, right? Because like the jokes are designed in a way from the data of US or like whatever cultural impact they want to do. So it won't apply to everyone. So what every model company is trying to do, they're trying to create various persona and various cultural aspects of it, right? Right now, most of the models works based on the US persona, but if you take other part of the world's personas and culture, so because there are thousands, millions of cultural data and other things, right? So, for example, let's say if last week I went to Korea, people love to eat live octopus, right? Which I can't imagine, right? So it depends on various countries, cultures, and everything. So I believe a lot of persona data that we can contribute still, like AI models need a lot of persona, but not sensitive IP. So I don't see any challenges of privacy and other things when I try to work practically now with a lot of companies.
Yeah, to this point too, on context, we're working with a project Intuition. They are doing attestations, and what we're finding is, while I was talking to the team there a year ago, they had been trying to sell attestations, proofs of verifying that something is true, like adding context to some sort of prompt, and they were trying to serve this to humans. But for humans, like in Web3, no one's going to go and do a lot of these things. What they found out was that AI agents were going to be their biggest customer over the next decade, so they completely pivoted. But you start to create these on-chain proofs or attestations to certain contexts that a machine might not understand wholly. And so if humans can verify these kinds of carrots to take the agent away from hallucination, there's some very interesting things we can do with encryption. There's also, just using various proofs to validate that the AI activity is doing what it's supposed to be doing. But I think there's also a big conversation around IP. I think everyone probably played around with OpenAI's Studio Ghibli, little GPT shenanigan. Super cool. It's like my phone background. I loved it. However, Studio Ghibli did not give permission to do that. And I think anyone that owns IP should be very scared right now. Anthropic won a major case, setting precedent that IP on the internet is open and free for AI to learn off of. There's OpenAI, like Sam Altman, openly will say, try and sue me, prove it. And there's no way to create these attestations or these proofs that it came from the righteous owner. And to your point, it's very difficult to attach that to an AI token, but perhaps you can attach it to the process of serving that information through a GPT. But again, we should definitely be worried if you own IP or you own a business, you're about to enter a world where if you can't monetize your data and you become consumed, you're going to need Web3.
Yeah, humans just want the green check mark. That's about it, what they can verify. The Ghiblified image one was actually an eye-opener for me, showing that people don't think about privacy at all. Like how many very personal images were sent to OpenAI servers and are never going to be retrievable. They have it. This will be in future models, baby pictures, doesn't matter. It's all now just given up for what? For Ghiblified image. For me, it's still crazy. And that's why so many people are working on private GPT. I think we have quite a way to go. The premise of the panel was on-chain privacy for trust and governance. Apparently, we don't need it. We haven't talked about on-chain privacy at all. How come?
I think we're heading into a post-truth world. Truth will be very variable in what we are heading. And so I think it will be important in the future that you actually have verifiable information. And the only verifiable information you can do is timestamps on a blockchain. Because the only thing that nobody will be able to tamper with. Like LinkedIn, everybody can cheat on their LinkedIn resume. It's easy. But if you have, in the time, 20 years ago, put it on the blockchain that you got this verification, that this test, then it's guaranteed. And you don't think about that maybe in 20 years you want to change and become an astronaut, and so you faked 20 years ago already your resume for it. So there are some fundamentals here. If you want to, also for AI agents becoming the biggest customer, totally agree. We will have 10x more AI agents than humans using things. But they also need to verify if information is right, and that will be one of the essential challenges, probably not in the next year, but definitely in the next 5 to 10.
Yeah, and privacy, I guess, there's so many ways to go about it, but there's privacy for the humans, privacy for the AIs. As agents become more sovereign in our system, they're going to want more privacy. They're going to want to, use EK, for transactions. They're going to want to use it for messaging. That might scare the shit out of some people, but it might be good if we have, reputation systems for them to actually earn our trust for doing the right things. But perhaps they just need it to be efficient. Perhaps they're working on behalf of you, and you need them to keep your data private. So it's all beneficial to all of us, but it's also on the side of, we're giving all of our data to these systems right now, and we don't know what they're doing with it. And one little story I had recently, I was using an OpenAI account for a year, and we were using a wrong credit card, and I basically got locked out of that account. They own all my data that I contributed to the system. Just my personal stuff. It's not nothing major, but if I was a business, and those were my customers' data on that infrastructure, and they just took it away from me, that's crazy. And so, in my opinion, we are moving to a place where we need to have more AI running on edge or running, on our own devices. We need to have privacy-preserving practices where it becomes composable for us as the power users. Very difficult to do, but we do need to think about how we're addressing privacy for us as consumers, but also as business owners and as perhaps employers of agents that are going to be using our data.
Let's wrap it up there. Where can we find you all on social media?
I'm on Twitter. It's Mateo_Ventures, Gaia.
So you can check. I'm not super active on Twitter. You can check our company OpenLedger HQ. So it's on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter or also on Telegram, PIFFIE, Piffy, and the company is MC2.fi.
Oasis Protocol. Thank you.